Let me introduce you to what might be the most fascinating island on our planet. A place where an indigenous tribe still lives today, as if we had traveled back tens of thousands of years in time. Just like you'd imagine, they live deep in the forest, hunting with bows and spears to survive. That alone already makes it an exciting place, but it's not what makes it truly unique. After all, indigenous tribes can still be found in several parts of the world. What sets this island apart is the fact that its people are completely isolated from the outside world. And if anyone tries to approach, they will attack. These attacks are no joke. Several people have been killed for setting foot on the island. So what is this island called? Where exactly is it located? And what do we really know about this mysterious tribe? Let's find out together. This island is none other than North Sentinel Island. You've probably heard about it before, especially because the internet was flooded with stories about it 7 years ago due to a certain incident. But we'll get back to that later. I had also heard of it, but as I started digging deeper for this video, I realized that it's way more fascinating than I had imagined. There are so many unbelievable stories tied to it. Let's start from the beginning. Where is this island? It's located in the Indian Ocean just west of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. On the map it looks tiny, but it's actually not that small. It's about 60 square kilometers in area, roughly the size of Manhattan. If you tried to walk across it, it would be about 9 kilometers wide. Maybe that helps you visualize it better. And as you can see, the entire island is covered in dense forest. This is important because it means we can't really observe how the islanders live or what structures they have, not even with planes or satellites. And that just adds to the island's mystery. The people who live here are called the Sentinelese. But we don't even know exactly how many of them there are. Some estimates say only a few dozen, others say a few hundred. Research suggests they may have been living on the island for tens of thousands of years. One piece of evidence for that is that even the ancient Greeks left behind records describing the natives of this region. Ptolemy referred to them as cannibal savages, claiming they skin and eat anyone they capture. He wasn't specifically talking about North Sentinel Island, but rather the island group in general. However, over the millennia, most of the surrounding islands have modernized to some extent. North Sentinel is the only one that has remained practically frozen in time due to its isolation. The famous explorer Marco Polo also wrote about this region in the 13th century. He didn't even dare to set foot on any of the islands, probably a wise choice. Instead, he recorded sailors' stories in his journal, claiming these islands were home to cannibals. From these early periods, we only have short journal entries about the mysterious tribe's existence. But no real interaction ever took place between the Sentinelese and the outside world. That began to change in the 19th century. In 1867, an Indian merchant ship called the Nineveh ran aground near the island. Over 100 people were on board, completely unaware that they had just landed on what might be the most dangerous island in the entire world. Eventually, they realized the danger when the Sentinelese attacked with spears and arrows. The castaways defended themselves with sticks and rocks. Luckily, a British naval ship arrived just in time and rescued them. The moment the warship appeared, the Sentinelese vanished into the forest. Thankfully, no one was killed, but it was a powerful reminder that the islanders remained extremely hostile toward outsiders. After this, there was no contact with the island for 13 years. In 1880, when the British Empire was expanding across Asia, a naval officer named Maurice Vidal Portman decided he wanted to bring North Sentinel into the empire. To do that, he tried to form an alliance with the natives. He landed on the island with an armed expedition, but the Sentinelese had vanished. According to records, Portman and his men only found abandoned campsites, but they didn't give up. A few days later, they found an elderly man and woman along with 4 children. They couldn't communicate. They didn't share a language. And Portman made the terrible decision to kidnap them for scientific purposes. Sounds like a terrible idea, and sadly it was. After taking them aboard, the adults grew ill. Their symptoms became so severe that they died. The Sentinelese immune system simply wasn't equipped to handle modern viruses. Panicked, Portman and his men rushed to return the 4 children to the island, along with a pile of gifts on the shore. Needless to say, the 1880 expedition was a disaster from every possible angle. Even Portman later admitted that their actions only deepened the tribe's fear and mistrust of the outside world. After such a colossal failure, the British Empire gave up on trying to claim the island. They decided to leave the inhabitants alone. There were no official expeditions after that, but conflict still found its way there. In 1896, 16 years later, a prisoner escaped from the nearby town of Port Blair, which, incredibly, is just 50 kilometers away from one of the most isolated islands in the world. Port Blair is a city of 150,000 people and even has its own airport. The escaped prisoner made a makeshift boat, drifted out to sea, and landed on North Sentinel Island. We only know this because a search party found his body a few days later. The message was clear. The islanders were still violently defending their territory. After that, there are no records of anyone stepping foot on the island for over 50 years. Then in 1956, the island's fate was reconsidered. But this time, from a totally new perspective. India had recently become independent, and since this region was under Indian control, the government declared North Sentinel Island a protected tribal area. It became illegal to visit the island without special permission, so instead of trying to conquer it, India made a law to preserve the island's independence. This was a positive step, but authorities still felt it might be worth trying to build a peaceful connection with the tribe. So they launched a series of friendly gift-giving expeditions. This brings us to Triloknath Pandit, an Indian anthropologist who became the world's leading expert on the Sentinelese. He dedicated decades of his life to building peaceful contact. In fact, he was the first person to set foot on the island during an official mission in 1967. That time, the locals were only spotted from a distance as the team approached. By the time they landed, the entire tribe had hidden. Still, they left behind gifts, coconuts, bananas, and tools. These kinds of visits continued for decades. Researchers hoped the tribe would eventually realize the visitors meant no harm. In 1974, something incredible happened. Someone finally brought a camera to the island. The Indian government funded a documentary titled Man in Search of Man. A whole film crew was sent to record one of these expeditions, and for the first time, we got to see how one of these gift-giving missions actually looked. The team brought coconuts and even a live pig, which was especially interesting because the tribe might never have seen a pig before. For them, it might have been like us finding an alien on our doorstep. The researchers dropped off the gifts and returned to their boats, waiting offshore to see what would happen. Eventually, the tribe appeared.
What are those moving shapes? Are they human? At last, the first glimpse of the Sentinelese. Is this a first step towards understanding a tribe never before seen by outside eyes?
The researchers tried to hold up coconuts to signal peace, but the Sentinelese responded by shooting arrows. One crew member was hit and injured, and the archer even began to dance in celebration. The message was loud and clear. They still weren't interested in making friends. They killed the pig and buried it in the sand. The film crew sailed away. Future expeditions like this continued, but none were truly successful. Most ended in a shower of arrows. Another major event happened in 1981 when a 16,000-ton cargo ship called Primrose ran aground on the northern coast of the island. The 31 crew members reported that armed Sentinelese tried to attack, but rough seas prevented them from reaching the ship. The crew was eventually rescued by helicopter, and thankfully, no one was hurt. But imagine what the islanders must have thought. Standing with spears and arrows, suddenly seeing a helicopter overhead. Absolutely surreal. This shipwreck ended up having long-term consequences. The Sentinelese scavenged the wreck and gained access to large amounts of metal, far more than they'd ever seen before. Researchers later noticed they had started forging sharp objects and arrowheads from the salvaged materials. In effect, the Sentinelese jumped from the Stone Age to the Iron Age thanks to the Primrose. You can still see the wreck of the ship on satellite images today. By the early 1980s, peaceful contact was still nowhere near successful. The islanders attacked anyone who came close. But in 1991, after decades of failed attempts, there was a breakthrough. A peaceful encounter finally happened. A female anthropologist named Madhumala Chattopadhyay anchored near the island and began offering coconuts to the gathering tribespeople. To everyone's surprise, the Sentinelese approached unarmed, and some even came right up to the boat to accept gifts by hand. It was the first truly peaceful contact, a historic moment, possibly the first of its kind in centuries. Some believe the fact that a woman approached the island for the first time made the peaceful intent more clear to the tribe. 2 months later, another peaceful meeting was arranged. And this time, Triloknath Pandit himself was able to hand coconuts directly to the islanders. Imagine how rewarding that must have been after decades of work. It finally seemed like progress had been made, that the islanders were open to peaceful relations and that no one would be in danger if they accidentally came ashore. Sadly, this didn't last. Throughout the 1990s, the tribe grew more distant and aggressive again during gift-giving expeditions. Though no one was killed, the Indian government eventually decided to end all such missions. From then on, the policy became, leave the Sentinelese alone. Visits would only be made under extreme circumstances, like if a natural disaster struck and help might be needed. That situation came in 2004, when a massive earthquake and tsunami devastated the Indian Ocean region. One of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history, killing over 200,000 people. The Indian government sent a helicopter to check on the islanders, and to their surprise, they saw smoke rising from fires and people moving along the beach. Aerial footage even shows the Sentinelese firing arrows at the helicopter. The pilot didn't land, but now they knew. The tribe had survived, and still wanted nothing to do with the modern world. The most widely publicized event on the island happened in 2018, when John Allen Chow, an American missionary, set his mind on introducing and spreading Christianity on the island. The young 26-year-old man could only reach the island illegally under Indian law. He bribed fishermen to take him there by boat. When he first encountered the islanders, they attacked him, and although he suffered serious injuries, he miraculously managed to escape. However, he felt he could not abandon his mission, so he returned to the island a second time. And sadly, he never came back. The fishermen who had helped take him to the island witnessed that the islanders killed him as well. In 2025, just a month before this video was made, a 24-year-old YouTuber named Mikhailo Polyakov set foot on North Sentinel Island. Using a motorized inflatable boat and guided by GPS, he illegally traveled approximately 35 kilometers from the main island to reach the restricted island. Once there, he left a coconut and a can of Diet Coke as offerings and filmed his brief visit. Just minutes later, he returned to his boat. Upon arriving back in Port Blair, Polyakov was reported by local fishermen and subsequently arrested on March 31st. This is where the story of North Sentinel Island currently stands. And what makes it even more surreal is that passengers flying into the city of Port Blair, just 50 kilometers away, actually fly right over the island, often recording it with their phones. That very island, which remains trapped in the Stone Age to this day. It would be interesting to ask the islanders how they interpret the airplanes, but since no one speaks their language besides them, and they're not exactly friendly, we may never find out. I'm curious to hear your opinion. Do you think we should leave the islanders alone, or should we keep trying to make contact with them? Write your thoughts in the comments, and if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching this video. Let's see you again soon.